Let me start with the what we like to call in government proper protocol. My colleague, Emmanuel Mukilia, who is the DG for data protection in Tanzania, I'm so happy he could make it. He's been quite busy of late, busier than me, by the way. Victor Adede, who is here. Where is Victor? Oh, he's here. On behalf of the director in Amnesty International, Al-Kag's executive director of Open Institute, your chair, I see he has left. Oh, he's still here. Oh, I saw his we have Edna Kisosi of Data Protection Authority of Uganda, and your colleague Paul. Paul is seated somewhere here. We also have Dr. Laibuta for Data Privacy Governance Society of Kenya. And if you're planning to join this side of leadership, have a session with those young people. They will teach you patience because by the way, Laibuta, one of my colleagues asked me, but why do you subject yourself to being asked so many questions which are not technical? But that's the truth. Issues around accountability, you must be willing to be asked even the most uncomfortable question and respond. It's not personal, I said. It's not personal, it's the position you hold. It is, it's how people hold you accountable. And if you're uncomfortable answering questions, then you're not ready for leadership. And I think it's a place many of us find hard. Do I call you Victor also? Philip, good morning. I see you have acquired a new skill, which you're doing very well, of emceeing. You're changing legal profession, Ama. It's good to see you. Good morning. And Lady Maria, she left. I was going to throw her flowers at her. I was going to say, well done. I looked up and saw you walking away. I mean, I listened to you. Your speech this morning was quite inspiring. Working with the vulnerable, like the refugees, is something, and having a platform which is African grown is something that we shouldn't take for granted. You're daring big tech in that sense. Please keep it up. Welcome. Good morning, and to our visitors, welcome to Kenya. I am glad to join you today for the East Africa Data Governance theme, Navigating the Duality in Data Governance, Innovation and Accountability in East Africa, organized by the Open Institute and Amnesty International. And I dare say these are the first adapters in a space that nobody even knew what it was. We talked about data governance, we talked about digital rights. No one understood. Perhaps the most known digital rights activist globally is Ishrem in Europe. So having Amnesty and Open Institute take on that role is something really commendable. It is an honor to join policymakers, technologists, innovators, researchers, journalists, civil society leaders, and private sector actors from across the region to discuss, amongst other topics, ways to strike a balance between innovation, accountability, while working together to create responsible, right-focused digital future for East Africa. Just in the room, we were just at the waiting room. I was just reminding my colleagues in East Africa, we have an opportunity there to hold hands because the strength of 3, 4, 5, 6 East Africa countries is what will help us weather the storm in this era of digital rights. In an era of thriving digital technology achievements, the digitization of services across the private and public sector is no longer in question. We are moving beyond this, with companies now harnessing personal data and artificial intelligence, amongst other emerging technology, to drive new business models. I don't know, it's Dr. Melissa. Oh, Dr. Oh, you sat so far. Dr. Melissa, I don't know whether in your school you're considering doing oral exams like I see increasingly in my school, because it's become difficult to tell whether a student is using AI to do the assignment or not, even when you use tools. I can tell you in my school, 60% of exams now are oral, and 30% is written assignment. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we must remind ourselves that the challenge presented by these technologies requires a deliberate multi-stakeholder approach to ensure that ethical standards are adopted in digital landscape. Striking a balance between technology and advancement and the foundational principles of good governance, right, transparency, and accountability is essential. The African Union has set a strong direction for the continental digital development through its digital transformation strategy for Africa 2020-2030. Central to this agenda is the African Union Data Policy Framework 2022, which provides practical guidance to member states on strengthening data governance. The framework supports policymakers in establishing systems that ensure data is managed, shared, and utilized in a secure, ethical, and a developmental-focused manner. At the East Africa level, governments increasingly recognize the need for a strong data governance system to manage data responsible protection, privacy, and regulating data use. The East Africa community took early steps in this direction with its 2008 legal framework for cyber laws, aimed at promoting coordinated cyber data policy across member states. While non-binding, this framework has significantly influenced the development of national data protection laws in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Somalia, strengthening the regional towards more harmonized data governance practice. I look forward to the day we'll launch the data principles for East Africa. I hope it's soon. Anyway, building on this momentum, individual member states have taken significant strides to strengthen their national data governance framework. As we hear from them today, each has embraced specific initiatives aimed at enhancing robust and effective governance system. Collectively, these efforts reflect a growing regional commitment to the responsible data stewardship and the development of interoperability, trustworthy digital ecosystem across East Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, as countries continue to advance broad data governance effort, one area that stands out as both foundational and increasingly urgent is data protection. Today, we have over 174 countries that have actually, in one way, form or shade, have a data protection framework. Something is happening. It means that we are reflecting on what data protection means for us. In Kenya, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner is mandated to regulate the processing of personal data amongst other functions. With the aim of enhancing transparency and building trust of data protection in Kenya, as an office, we remain committed to operationalizing the Data Protection Act by creating awareness amongst data subjects and how to exercise their right and supporting organizations in their compliance journey. I like, where is Alt? The caricature, it's called Mudata. Have we watched it? It's really a great opportunity to share some of the issues that affect us. I am also happy that continuously over the years, the Open Institute does a campaign around data protection. Recently, we have seen a surge in complaints from members of the public, reflecting increased awareness of their rights. By issuing determination, it serves as a wake-up call for organizations to take data protection seriously. And we often say, it's not the fine, because many organizations, a fine of 250,000, 500,000 may not be significant. It's a reputation. Do you want to be that company or organization where people know that you use their data in ways that are not acceptable? I think for us, and some the point for reflection is always accountability and transparency is centered to the customer base and how you build trust. A month ago, we celebrated Data Privacy Day by holding a conference under the theme, Trust the Data, Build the Future. This reflects our focus as an office to ensure that organizations across all sectors understand the way to achieve trust in a digital technological advancement by integrating data protection as key anchor of business opportunities. I must reiterate that the best approach in balancing innovation and accountability in data governance is a multi-stakeholder approach. I've just said the importance of not only having a partnership with the society on data governance, but also the professionals on data protection, and also many other key players in this industry, because I believe it is out of that strength that we are continue to strengthen the ecosystem of data protection. It is important to recognize that data protection is not a barrier to technological progress, but a critical enabler of it. Innovation thrives in the environment where trust is presented, and trust is built when individuals are confident that their personal data is handled responsibly and ethically. I am pleased to note that we have representatives from diverse fields today to broaden regional dialogue beyond mere data protection to encompass ownership, sovereignty, ethics, and the economics of data. We must involve all players to avoid a narrow-minded approach. Ladies and gentlemen, another key issue I wish to highlight as we navigate the contradictions of power dynamics shaping policy practices and technology in East Africa is the need for harmonization of technology-related policies, including data protection laws. The lack of harmonization makes it difficult for business operation in multiple countries to comply with varying laws and imposes significant compliance challenges for investors seeking to enter the regional landscape. I see Rosemary of KCB. I'm sure she couldn't agree more. To address some of these challenges, Kenya, through the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, has developed a comprehensive set of regulations and guidance documents that clarify obligations of data controllers and data processors, thereby reducing uncertainty for business operating both locally and across border. And I think for us, Edna and Emmanuel, I think those companies continue to throw a challenge our way. The cost of compliance, when they have to comply in Tanzania, they have to comply in Uganda, they have to comply in Congo DRC, they have to comply in Kenya, they have to comply in Somalia, they have to comply in Ethiopia, becomes enormous. Just recently, I had a meeting with the Association of Data Protection Professionals, and one of the things they are calling on us as East Africa is to see how we have a framework within the East African country that can make ease of business for them. So that when they speak about storage, you don't have to have multiple storage facilities across the 3 East Africa countries. It becomes easier for them in terms of investment. I think when it comes to issues around data flows, even as we wait for the East Africa to come up with the principles, I think when it comes to having adequacy amongst ourselves is something that we should consider, and perhaps even a resolution of this conference, so that it becomes an issue that we give to businesses operating within the East Africa. Secondly, we are developing regulations that address cross-border data transfers, ensuring that data can flow securely while protecting the rights of data subjects. Additionally, the Data Sharing Code of Practice and sector-specific guidelines provide organizations with practical tools to implement possible, accountable, and interoperability data practices. This initiative are a demonstration of Kenyans' commitment not only to strengthen national compliance, but also to contribute to broader regional harmonization efforts that support investment, innovation, and trust in East Africa economy. As I conclude, I look forward to more engagement, discussions on data ownership and custodianship, sovereignty, cross-border governance, infrastructure, interoperability and standards, ethic, algorithms, accountability, and economics and value of data, key pillars of this conference. I thank you for your attention, and I look forward to the impactful discussion and collaboration that will emerge from this program. I am confident that through this, we will strengthen partnership among its stakeholders driving East Africa data and digital transformation. Asanteni. But before I conclude, just 2 points. One is a challenge to the organizers who include ourselves. Perhaps you can consider rotating the conference so that it also has a following from other countries. You have Tanzania and Uganda here. I think it would really help, though that it has that appeal. I see Al-Kags is looking at me. I think he's in total agreement. And after all, he lives in Kilifi, so he just needs to take a quick bus to Tanga, maybe on his way to Dodoma. So I think that's one of the challenge. But the other challenge that I would want to throw to us here as practitioners in the area of data governance, I know we keep saying the importance of having AI that is African-driven and so on and so forth. I think we need to be a bit more, what will I say, cautious about what kind of systems we are embracing as a region, and ask much more deeper questions. But a bigger question, and perhaps this is the platform to address that concern, is how enforcement within the East Africa can be an issue that we can address. Because the truth is, when we look at issues around marketplace, the internet does not have a limit. Some of these challenges we are witnessing are witnessed in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Somalia, in DRC Congo, in Rwanda, in Burundi. Collaboration in terms of enforcement will send a stronger message. It is easier. We've seen part of collaboration happening within the EU. I've seen recently an investigation for one of the platforms undertaken between the UK and Canada. And these are shared stories when we go for GPA. I think it's important to start taking on that as a challenge. Nothing stops us. Even though we don't have a framework, it's possible to enter into partnerships that can actually then strengthen this area. Because the truth is, when it comes to issues around data protection, they cannot be isolated to Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. A more collaborative approach and working within the region is something we will be sending a strong message as a region. I want to just call upon my colleagues in the region. This is a great opportunity for us to discuss some of the challenges, listen to stakeholders, and see how we build on this region, so that it's something that we move from strength to strength. From the East Africa, we can move to the Southern Africa, to Western Africa, and eventually to the African region. Data is not just the new oil, it's about our identity. And we are seeing new models develop. Just a new one that Brazil is coming up with. Brazil is piloting data that can actually, people can be paid. If you want to use my data, you also need to give me a shilling out of it. Well, it's a moral issue from a data protection perspective, but it's something that we can explore and see. But also, more importantly, is and why it should concern us. Whereas for the longest time, the world's conversation has been about competition law, and when we look back, why was competition law important? It was the importance of creating equality. If we are talking about democracy, it's also important to make sure that nobody has a monopoly. If we are not discussing Africa in this space of technology, then guess what? Aren't we the ones being fed on? Thank you.